parents, welcome back to part 2 about building math fact fluency. One of the best ways we can start building that math fact fluency is with our preschoolers and our kindergartners. And if you have older students who aren't really proficient with math facts, you can bring those same kind of games back for them as well, and they will still enjoy them. But one of my favorite ways is using dot cards. So I'd like to give you a little demonstration of that. Dot cards are really important for helping kids to start to see how numbers can be made up into smaller numbers. So let's take a look.
Here's a good example. Now, adults will just normally see this as 4 instantly, but smaller children, preschoolers and kindergartners can start to build on that as well. So they might say, oh, I saw a box and I knew that was 4, or they might actually count 1, 2, 3, 4. But as they get better with dot games, they'll start to see it as groups of, for example, I saw 2 and I saw 2 and I counted on, or I saw 2 and I saw 2, so I knew 2 and 2 was 4, and so forth. They might see them vertically or they might see them horizontally as 2 and 2. But we want to start building on asking the question, what do you see and how did you know? Oftentimes kids who play lots of games that have dice will start to see those dice patterns like you might see here. So they might know the other dot card that I showed was 4, and they can see that as 4 and 2 more, and they might do things like say, oh, I saw 4 and I saw 2 more, so I counted on 4, 5, 6. Or they might say, I saw 2 and 2 and 2. There are lots of different ways kids can see a pattern like this and come to the realization that it equals 6. Here's an example. Ask yourself, what do you see? Many of you see 3 and 3. You see a triangle of 3 and a triangle of 3. Some of you might have seen that as 4 and 2. Some of you might have seen that as 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Some of you might have seen that as 2 and 2 and 2. Lots of different ways to see the same pattern and come to the realization that it equals 6. Here's another variation on 6. Many of you probably see that as a group of 3 and a group of 3. Some of you might see that as 2 and 2 and 2. Lots of different ways we can see a pattern. What do you see here? Many kids will answer that they see 5 and 2, especially kids who have seen 5 represented like this on a die. What other ways might you see that? What other ways might your child see that? How might they come to the determination that that equals 7? Here's a very different representation of 7. How do you see that? Many of you, like me, see it as 2 and 2 and 3, or reversed, 3 and 2 and 2. Maybe you see it as 3 and 4. How else might a child see that? In mathematics, we call that subitizing. Subitizing means that you can see an amount without having to count every item one by one. You can just see that amount as being a value of a number. And so we want to encourage that in our younger learners. It really will build on that foundation they need for the fact fluency later on. As they start to get better at explaining their thinking with dots and dot cards, which you can make simply with just some index cards at home like I did. You can buy the little dots that you can paste on paper plates. So many ways you can do it. But as they get better at that, then you want to make them work on it in a more quick way. So once you've made some cards and want to start thinking about having your kid become a little more fluent, you want to start showing them quickly and then moving them away. So for example, I might show this card for a second or two and then move it away and ask my child, what did you see? So a child might say, I saw 3 and 3. I know that's 6. So then we bring it back And we talk about, so what did you see again? You saw 3. So show me what you saw. You saw these 3 and you saw these 3 and that made 6. You just knew that made 6. The object of this game is to show it long enough for them to see the pattern, but not long enough for them to count 1, 2, 3, and so on. We don't want them to do the one-to-one counting. We want them to see them as groups of. The types of thinking that kids use when they are subitizing or breaking numbers up into smaller chunks that they can think about mentally is the same kind of thinking that they will need for understanding basic. So the better that they get at this game, the better they will be at applying that same kinds of thinking to understanding basic facts of 3 plus 4 or 4 plus 7 or 8 plus 5. Thanks for visiting today, and I hope you'll be back next time for some more ideas on how to help your child with fact fluency. See you next time.